Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to our call-in show. It must be Thursday. That's what we do on Thursdays. The phone line is now open. I just opened it up. I think I did everything just correctly. Looking forward to hearing from you all and seeing what you got going on. Here's the studio shot. I just put it on the screen because I spent a bunch of time today that was probably unnecessary. You guys can see the broadcast software is up over here. So this is how the show gets produced. This is where you guys live. There's a chat there. There's a chat over here, all that kind of stuff. This is where the outgoing piece is. And I decided to see if I could actually take one of the 4K cameras that I had, which is this, fairly expensive Sony, and swap it out for something small and easy and see if the quality would be just as good. I think it is. Look at this. You can do all kinds of wild stuff like zoom over there, see what's going on. So I put a point or a pan tilt zoom up there. Anyway, that's what the situation looks like here. The phone number, you guys can see it is available and looks like we've got our first caller on the line. So I'm not even going to waste any time. I'm going to bring it on. Who do I have on the line with me?
Stevie Wonder is back.
Welcome back, my friend. How are you doing?
Well, getting ready to head for my 60th high school reunion down in Atlanta.
Is that a 6-0 that I heard there?
6-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
There's about 25, 30 of us. And I'm actually going to be taking down a bottle of my Argentine extreme altitude Malbec.
Yep.
Good for longevity.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm going to be making a toast. I hope my chemistry professor, who I've admired all my life, is there, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah.
And the reason I was calling in tonight was I decided to test the waters once again to see if I'm on any kind of government list. So I went out and bought my first gun.
Oh, your first gun?
My first gun. My dad actually had a German Mauser from World War II when he was shot down dropping paratroopers into Bastogne.
Okay.
And he actually, the deal was back then, if you got shot down, your stuff got divvied up. And he came back to the States, and I guess it was 20 years later. No, it must have been would have been in the 50s. So about 10 years later, he actually ran across an old buddy up in Fort Wayne. We were down in Atlanta.
Okay.
And he had his German Mauser. And we drove up there one summer and he got it back. And so long story there. They had that and a 22 Hornet used to shoot groundhogs with.
Right.
And those both burned up in a house fire in 78. So, as far as my gun is concerned, I just wanted, to get a background check run.
Yeah.
And in order to get one run, you got to buy a gun. Okay. And then if you don't pass the background check, they'll refund your money. But here's the deal with my gun. I bought a shotgun.
Okay.
Self-defense. It's a G-Force. And I'd never heard of them. Turns out it's manufactured in Turkey.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing I like about it is it's a semi-automatic shotgun.
Okay.
Magazine filled.
Yep.
It comes with a 5-shell magazine, a 10-shell magazine, or you can get a 20 or 50-round drum magazine.
Right.
For those really tough encounters. So,
have you gone out and shot it yet?
Not yet. Nope. I've got a lot of research to do. I got a Marine next door to me, and I want to go over and work with him with it, introduce him to my new toy, and see if he can rub some stuff off on me on how to deal with it.
I like it. Yeah, I'm looking at. I remember. Do you know which model you got? Is it a bullpup
50?
or is it the AR looking one?
It's a semi-automatic.
Yeah, they've got a couple different semi-automatics.
Yeah, well, it's boy, I don't know what they called it. I know it's composite. It's got a pattern. You know, uh, it's not just plain metal or wood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a composite body, and like I say, it's you know, I was just out, and then the background check came back immediately, no problem.
Yeah,
So
that's what I would expect.
that
I buy a gun about once every month just to make sure I'm still good to go. So some not everybody does that. But
worried about
yeah.
yeah.
When I went
Well, then look, the way,
go ahead.
yeah, with the way things went with Jeremy Brown, you know, I mean, you cross the government any way, shape, or form nowadays, you really got to worry about that stuff, and it bothers me a lot. So,
same here.
That's it for me.
You see?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. How many? You said 60th anniversary. How many folks you said you think? How many people were in your graduating class? I heard you say 20 or 30 people are going to be there, but how many people came out of the graduating class?
252.
Okay.
So we're down to 10%.
Is that's all the people that are going, or that's all the people that are surviving?
That's all the people that are going.
Okay.
Now I know there's others, like one woman I dated for a while. I grew up in the same neighborhood from literally elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all the way through high school, and then we went our separate ways. But I met her at the 45th reunion.
Okay.
And we were a thing for a couple of years, and then she will not go to another reunion. And it's kind of a funny story. She's been approached by one of her classmates who is a lesbian.
See, this is the stories. This is what I need. This is what it was kind of a long day today, so I could take that. Yeah, the people who had to deal with the lesbian, what would we call that, propositioning that happens at the class reunion. That's what I want to know about. That's what I'm all here for.
Yeah. So, one thing I'm noticing, I went into the VA today. I've got a problem with incontinence, muscle weakness in my bladder.
Sure.
And I spurt occasionally, getting to the bathroom waiting too long. So I was going through some physical therapy for that. And my doctor, she said, call her Dr. O. Allison is her name.
Yeah.
She's got these tattoos all over.
Of course she does.
I'm saying, are you ex-military? And she says, no, it's just my thing. It's my generation.
It really is.
It really is, you know?
Yeah.
So,
it's something else. Somebody was asking me about it the other day, and they asked me, what kind of tattoos you have? I said, well, I don't have any. And they said, oh, really? I said, most of the guys your age do. And I said, well, I don't really think about putting a lot of graffiti on God's temple. So that's the way I've always thought about it. Also, I've never really thought of anything that I just needed to say for the entire rest of my life on my body like a billboard. There's just nothing there that's ever I've never been that kind of permanence. But it is definitely a thing. I'm not a big fan of it, I got to tell you. We met a mom at the pool the other day. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, she had tattoos on her neck. I just went, how do you do that? Why?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, being a spook in the Navy, you found out that tattoos were identifying marks.
That's right.
That you could be tracked on, and I don't know if they went on your passport back then or not, but I know they were identifying marks, and the whole thing is that I never got tattooed because of that. And the next thing I found out is I have not shaved my face in over 5 years.
Okay.
And I call it my afro. Okay. Yeah. I got beard and hair growing up underneath my eyes and, all over my ears. And basically, I call it my afro look because it's my anti-facial recognition ornamentation.
That's right. Okay.
And I have found out it's working because the government trust you less and less. I'm getting my VA benefits, and so they now have you go through two different login people who ascertain your identity. Okay, one is login.gov, and I forget the other one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I've had a hard time with both of them. Well, I went to get my VA, and because I'm on Social Security, I wanted to get it all with one login, get that out. Well, when I went to get login.gov into SSA, I had to take a photo of my driver's license.
Right.
And then a photo of my face.
Right. Yeah, they want to compare the two.
In the 5 tries, they did not match.
I like it.
Okay.
You're making your life more difficult, but that's okay.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, I'm fixing to go down to the post office because that's where they say you can't get this done, then go down to the post office. We're going to see what's happening there because I got the same problem with my passport photo.
Yeah.
I got a feeling they're going to say something about that. And
I'll share something kind of funny. If you ever meet an FBI agent out there in the field, they all get issued the credentials. You've seen the credentials. They flip them open. It says, FBI, and on the top it has a photo and a signature and stuff. And everybody's ID photo is however old or however long they've been in the FBI years old. All of them. So you meet somebody that's 20-something years in, it's a 20-year-old photograph. You meet women that are 50 pounds heavier and now they have a different hair color because it's gray, but it used to be red and they used to be, kind of cute kind of thing. It's really funny. So everyone's got this throwback picture. And I didn't care for my picture because I started wearing a beard after I got into the field. My squad mates told me it's the last FU to management. So we grow beards here. And I said, okay, fine. So I grow a beard. And I've had it ever since. So I've had it my kid's entire life. My daughter's 7. She's never known me without a beard. And so I've had it for, 8 or 9 years now. And when I got to New Mexico, I went up to the field office and I asked him, I said, hey, can I get a new photograph? Because when I show people my picture from Quantico, I don't look anything like it. Like there's this young looking guy with this clean shaven face and I don't dress like that and I don't wear like that anymore. And they said, oh yeah, sure. You can get one. We just tag it under not a current likeness and we can give you a new photograph. And nobody knew that, as far as I knew. I never met another FBI agent who had an updated photograph unless they had their credentials lost or stolen. So I was the only guy rolling around with the bearded photograph on my credentials. And people would look at it and they go, holy crap, how'd you get that? And I go, I just asked for it really nicely. I just said, I don't look like this. And they went, yeah, the entire purpose of your ID is to look like you. So maybe you need to just update your photos. What do you think? Let the government know what you look like.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing. And the thing is, as far as my beard, it goes back to 1971.
Oh, yeah.
When Admiral Zumwalt allowed sailors to grow beards.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Only service that allowed beards. And, I've worn one just about my entire life, except for a couple of times. When I went to work in Saudi Arabia for a year, I shaved it off for that. And forget what the other time I shaved it. I was going to work in Hong Kong and with a new business partner over there. And so I shaved it there because Asians, beards are for old people.
I just think you should have left it at
not for young people.
Mr. Wonder, I think Asians was sufficient. That was an appropriate statement. Just stand alone. No, yeah. As we would say in the intel world, no further information.
Well, the thing is this. You've seen the old Chinese. They have the wispy beards.
They do, yeah.
Okay, and that is respected within the Asian community.
Sure. But
all right, I'm out of here. Good talking to you.
Well, you have a safe trip and give us the update afterwards. And I hope it is a enjoyable catch up with some of your old classmates.
I'm sure it will be.
All right, sir.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks for calling. And that opens up the phone line, so it is available to the next caller. See if you can top that. If anybody wants to call in and leave a vaguely ethnic statement with no further information, this is a place where you can do that. That's a safe place for you, particularly, Asians. And then that's it. That would be fine. Like I said, in the intel world, when somebody would want to discredit a statement that a witness might say, and you were typing it up, they would say whatever it was. Like, I'm pretty confident the guy was eating nothing but Parmesan cheese, and then you would put in parentheses NFI right after it. We got another caller on the line. Who's on the line here? Hello,
Jordan.
You're on the line. You're on the air. How we doing?
Oops. Sorry, I was on speaker for a second. Yeah, hi, this is Griffin or Joel. Hi.
Hi, Joel. How you doing? Tell me about what you sent me. A box of parts. I was like, they're going to flag me for getting bomb making material. There was a fan. There was some electronics. Talk me through it. What's going on here?
Okay, so pretty much one of them is a Wi-Fi card, so you can have a spare Wi-Fi card for like your computer if you need it. And the other thing is a grill, like for a 14 centimeter fan for like a new computer, like if you decide to have one. Okay? And also the Y cable, okay, is also for a computer fan, okay, like 2 computer fans, okay. And it's for 4-pin fans, okay. So you have more control over the speed and temperature,
Okay.
And the other thing is a Sharpie. You can use it for boxes,
I was trying to. Okay, hold on. I open the box. Okay, so let me explain this to people. So I go down to I get an email from the postal service, from the PO box people, and I go down there, and there's a box, and there's an envelope with a book in it, which was very nice, and I open it up when I get home, and it says tightly packed electronics. Am I right, Joel? Is that what it said?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at it. I go. I went tightly packed electronics. Okay, so I razor the box open, I pull it open, and the first thing I noticed was a Sharpie that was next to the box, and I went, "Oh, he forgot his freaking Sharpie. He left it in the box when he was writing that, but you intended to."
Yeah.
That's very funny. Okay, so a fan, a grill. I don't know when I'm going to use them, but I appreciate it. I used to be a guy who would build my own computers. There was a time in my life when I did. I don't do that as much anymore. It's been a long time. But,
okay.
And then there was something else. What else was it? You gave me some movies, maybe?
Trigun. Trigun series and the movie.
Okay, what am I looking at? What is that? Is that 7-year-old age appropriate?
Huh?
Is it 7-year-old age appropriate?
No.
No.
Okay, it's supposed to be made for 17 and older.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can enjoy it with friends and family or something that's at that age or older. Yeah. So you get anime, like a Japanese animation, and it's about a guy who has a bounty on his head, but he's a good guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's an old anime from 1998.
Okay.
Well, not really old.
I don't think I've watched any anime. What is the lure of anime?
Oh, okay. Huh?
What is the lure of it? What makes people sit and watch that? Because it's cartoons, yeah? I mean, it's Japanese animation?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
And it's just sometimes it's fun to make science fiction stuff, Yeah, that one's fun. It's science fiction.
Okay. Yeah. So there was a show that they did on, I want to say it was on Netflix. I think it was Netflix, but it could have been Amazon Prime. I'm leaning towards Netflix, and it was called My Dad the Bounty Hunter, and I watched it with my kids, and it was obviously not like totally anime, but it was kind of in that same vein, sort of the style, kind of blocky, kind of straighter lines on the jaws, kind of a little bit more impression, and there was a lot of action and kind of animated actions where they'd have kind of like the background would blur and there'd be lines and that kind of style, which I've seen before, and it was done pretty well. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's actually, I mean, it's a kid's show, right? It's made for kids. It's got family values. And yet, as an adult, I would tell my kids to pause it when I walked out of the room, which is not normal. Normally, I just walk out and I don't care what I'm missing. But I actually wanted to follow the storyline. Okay. So I get it. There's some good stuff.
Yeah, so the first thing is there's like a joke in the story. Like the guy's name is Vash, which is French for cow. It's like a joke about him and his brother having a beef against each other, Sorry, no.
Well,
So
double entendre.
The name of the villain. The villain his name is Knives. So he's like a joke, like a English and French joke, yeah.
And anyway, do you speak like I know you're in Canada, right?
Yes.
Do you speak French as well?
Yes.
How common is that? How
That's
many
my
people?
First language, yeah.
That's your first language. How many? What's the prevalence of French speakers in Canada compared to just English?
Probably a quarter of the people.
Okay.
Like in Ontario at least, there's like probably about 2 million of the 8 million there in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that speak French as their first language. But obviously, there's some people that learn French later.
Sure. Yeah. Do you mostly communicate in English?
Yes. Okay, but I go to French. I go to a parish in French, like Catholic church.
Okay.
Once in a while, but recently I've been going to the cathedral, like because they have access to confession, which is good. Yeah.
How are the sermons that you're seeing up in Canada? Are they what kind of subject matters? Are they generic? Are they vanilla? Are they talking about like actual reform and the issues in the world? Like what do they cover at the cathedral?
Well, at the cathedral, they talk about like the dangers of like overusing the internet, like what do you call it? Going down a rabbit hole kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, okay, like they talk about that, okay, and also like the importance of the sacraments, especially penance, okay, and to be able to go to the Eucharist and to receive Jesus in a state of grace, yeah.
Sure.
And also sometimes the pastor talks about, and the vicar, okay, and the deacon, okay, sometimes they talk about 40 days for life, okay, and like the praying outside of the hospitals and clinics and stuff like that, okay? And also they also talk about like the importance of controlling your time, people's time on the internet, like not controlling, but like scheduling your
scheduling and limiting it. Yeah.
People
Joel, tell me,
schedule their time effectively. Yeah.
Tell me if I'm misremembering, but you spent some time on a thing that it's called what? VR chat? Is that right?
Yeah. Virtual reality chat. Yes.
How much time do you think you spent on that?
On there too. Yeah. A bit too much. Not a bit too much.
Too much.
Yes.
So these sermons tend to hit home. It sounds
probably
like
probably about 20 hours a week.
Oh my.
Or maybe 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who are you interacting with there?
Many people from USA and Europe, mostly.
Do you go into like subject specific? Is it subject
Huh?
specific? I mean, I'm imagining like old AOL chat rooms where you'd go in and it would be like in a geographic area, or it'd be about a topic, it'd be about sports or something. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, similar to that. Like where people like choose what they're talking about, like randomly. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it's kind of like a phone conversation, but like people can control their characters with their controllers and headset and trackers and stuff like that.
Interesting.
What I mean by trackers is that people can get something like the Xbox Connect to control their character, like for the knees, feet, and elbows.
Yes.
I don't use the elbow part, but I use the Connect for the feet and the knees. And that's it. Yeah. So it's pretty fun.
So are you working on cutting down from?
I actually have a character that's a griffin.
Yeah. No, I understood that part too, and I think I think you posted a video or two over on our locals. Are you working on limiting this 20 hours? And if so, what's your goal? What's the goal number of hours to be on per week if you're trying to limit it?
Probably like lowered by like probably 5 hours less per week or so.
See where that goes.
Like maybe an hour or so every few days. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's good aspiration.
I'll probably be more productive.
Yeah, you could be more productive. You meet some nice people out there in the world. There are some out there. I I don't want to meet them, but maybe you will need to go meet them. I don't want to go out there. I like staying in my house. People don't believe it. I'm like a shut-in. I have to get Joel. I have to get my energy level up. Even just go out and run errands. I don't want to go do it. Once I'm out, I don't mind. It's kind of like the gravitational pull of like hanging out at home, though. I don't care to leave. If I'm sitting here, I got all the things I need. I can solve all my issues, and then once I leave the house, it's like, oh, like now I'm out in the world. I might as well go do work out in the world. But man,
my current goal is to get up more earlier in the morning, okay, so I can go to mass at like 8 a.m.
I love that.
Or 7:30, depending on the parish, I guess.
Yeah.
Like in the area. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah. And then after that, I'll probably, my goal is to work out after going to mass. Yeah.
That sounds like a recipe for making yourself a much better human being in the world. All right. I got a single question for you and we'll wrap up. The question is 51st state. What do you think? Does Canada need to join the Stars and Stripes, or are you guys happy being snow Mexicans on your own? What do you think?
I would probably, definitely. I would say, snow Mexicans for a while.
Forever. Okay.
Yeah. But I think the thing I sent you, like the thing is a video or something. Okay, I think it was about a documentary about a 1982 statement by the Charles Trudeau, the Prime Minister.
Okay.
All right. So he wanted to have the provinces to have more independence, like to be able to control their own finances to be able to have more control of their own finances and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that would help Canada like a lot.
Yeah,
like
maybe a little more spirit. I feel like Canadians are kind of a ruggedly independent people, are they not?
Yeah.
Shouldn't they be more independent from the government?
Each province?
I don't know. I just feel like there's parts of Canada where there's a lot of really rugged, outdoorsy, hard human beings, and then there's like some people that kind of want to be taken care of and want to live in a city. But I went up to Alberta, and
I noticed.
They seem like hard people. They don't need anybody else. They could be an extra state or territory. They could join us. They're kind of like Montana, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, but I know that for the election that just went by, like the federal election.
Yep.
Okay, in Ontario, I don't know about the other provinces, but I know most of the West voted Conservative. Okay.
Yeah.
And in Ontario, there's like maybe I think it's like 4 things in Northern Ontario that voted Liberal, and then the rest was Ottawa and most of Toronto. I don't know what happened there, but I voted Conservative. But like, it's kind of upsetting that Toronto voted Liberal. Yeah,
I think that seems like that's been going that way for a very long time. You'll be happy to know.
Yeah, like big cities, they vote left for some reason. I don't know why.
I think that's the nature of being in cities. I think there's some good explanations for it. Your buddies in our locals chat have created a snow Mexican flag for you. So when you get back in there, you'll be able to see it. And I think it comes in love. That's my favorite term. And I've never heard anybody in Canada be upset about it. What do you think? Is that an offensive term to Canadians as a Canadian on the phone with us?
The Mexicans, most of them are Catholic, I think.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't mind that term, because like if it talks about Catholics things,
I'm for it. If that's where you land, you know what, Joel, we agree on that, and I think you're all right, man. You're okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. It's my favorite term, so I don't want to have to get rid of it. So I'm appreciative that you said that.
Okay. Anyway, have a good night. I'll run the video in a second.
Yeah.
Not video, stream. Yeah.
Sounds good. You can see the flag the folks made for you. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate the call, my friend.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to open up the line. Snow Mexican. We got one vote in favor of it. There's a flag if you joined us over on Locals. If you guys want to join us on Locals, it's pretty easy to do. You just go to kyleserafin.com. You can participate with the community. You don't have to pay anything to be part of that if you'd like to do that. If you want to join and be a subscriber, that's where the phone number is. The phone number is still available over for those subscribers that are on YouTube. We got a couple people that started subscribing over there. I got to get better at posting. We mostly open up this chat. This is for you guys to call and say whatever the heck it is that's in your heart, and then we just hear what it is. So that's what's going on. I got another line, another person on the line. Who am I speaking to tonight?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is Kim, or KCN 1207.
Hello, Kim. How are you doing tonight?
Hi. Good. How are you? Who's this?
Well, this is Kyle. I'm fantastic.
This is Kyle?
Who else would it be?
How come I'm watching you? Well, I'm looking at you on the screen here.
I know. I sound exactly like I sound when I'm sounding like me.
Yeah, but how come you're doing this on the screen and I'm talking to you and you're saying something else on the monitor?
Slight delay. That is the magic of sending things into the internet and the satellites. So what's going on tonight, Kim?
Got it. I just called to talk about guns.
Send it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So I shoot Glocks, and I just got a P365 for my concealed carry.
Okay.
But my Glocks, I have a fun gun, a Glock 34.
Okay.
And I'm thinking of changing the trigger. And I'm wondering, do you shoot Glock, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Almost.
Do you keep the?
I got two of them within reach of me right now. I won't put them out. They'll kill us on. They'll kill our live stream over on YouTube. But I have two right next to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I would like I like the trigger on the Glock, but I feel like I do like combat steel, little mini competitions, you know, very casual. And I feel like I could get a little more speed if I changed my trigger. Do you know anything about swapping out triggers on the Glock?
I mean, first of all, it takes almost nothing. So I once set what I think was the record for a Glock trigger job. I was able to do the entire thing, disassembly, trigger job, and reassembly in slightly under 12 minutes. And so it's not really hard to do. My move is rarely to do anything with the actual trigger itself. I usually use the stock trigger bars. You can change the shoe a little bit, which might be something, especially for something like a steel match. You might want, rather than the curved trigger, you can actually swap it out for a flat trigger. So you might get some, that's just a shoe. There's just a pin in there to knock out. It takes very little to do any of these things. So that may be something you check into. So the trigger shoe flattening out, I've got one on I've got a Glock 45 MOS with a compensator on the front of it. It's which is the same length as your 34. And so it's a Glock, it's a Glock 19 slide with like a 1.25 inch comp in the front of it from Parker Mountain Machine. And I've just got a different trigger shoe on that. I think a lot of the best, have you ever seen how the trigger mechanism actually works?
No.
Okay. So
I haven't.
I'm going to try to explain it visually to you. As you press back on the trigger, there's a piece of steel that goes up and directly backwards. So it goes north just maybe like 3/4 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch up, half an inch up, and then it comes backwards to where the actual locking mechanism is. There's a thing that's called the disconnector. And what happens is when that trigger goes backwards, it has friction basically in a couple different little places. One of them is on the side of the frame. Another one is going to be actually on the disconnector itself, which is just this little like piece of steel that presses outward towards, if you're right-handed, it presses out towards your thumb. And then and there's a little spring on there to reset it as well. And then the last thing is there's this little tooth that sticks upward, and it touches what's called the striker block. And the striker block is the thing that when you take your gun apart, you see that little circle that's either shaped like a plunger or it's shaped like a triangle, right? And so that's all those places where you have friction is where you have the potential for grit or slop or slowing down your trigger. So for me, I use the factory trigger, but what I do is I take it out and I put it on a polishing wheel. And so I polish up any of the points where you're going to have metal to metal contact. So I polish the striker block. I polish the tip, the little tooth that engages the striker block. I polish the sides of the trigger bar and then the disconnector and then the facing interface with the disconnector. And it takes very little, and you can pay someone to do it. You can watch a video on how to do it yourself. If you have like a hammer and a punch and a roll of tape, you can pretty much do it yourself. The Glocks are very easy to work on. As long as you don't lose parts, you're good to go. So I just polish my triggers, but the ones that I've seen that were supposed to be good is the skimmer trigger was something I was interested in. And my buddy told me he uses a different trigger and I can't think of what it is, but he's a Green Beret and he knows what he's doing. And I will post it over on Locals in the next couple days. I'll ask Bo. Bo is the military and law enforcement sales guy for Shield Arms. And he doesn't really nerd out about gun stuff. He shoots, whatever it is. If it works, that's what he goes with. But he's a stupidly good shooter. He was actually on Trump's protective detail on the DOD side for a little while as well. Really, really interesting, cool guy, and a disgustingly capable shooter, like the kind of guy that when you know him, you don't want to hang out with him because he makes you look bad, and it's just embarrassing for anyone. It's cool to have friends like that on your team, but
Yeah. Well, speaking of Shield Arms, thank you for that information.
Sure.
I'll check into that on that trigger. Shield Arms. I'm heading up to Glacier National Park in a month or so. I'm going to go by Shield Arms in Montana.
Definitely do. They've got a nice little coffee shop space in there. They've got a really neat little pro shop. It's like a big, so they've got machining on the northern side of the property, and then on the southern and slightly western side of the property, they've got like a public face where you can walk in and they've got all the gear and they've got guns and they've got a pro shop. And I think they can make you a cup of coffee there. And they actually have a podcast studio built in somewhere now. It's been several months since I was there last, but it's a really nice place. The people are super friendly and nice. It's just a gravel parking lot. You just pull in on the side of the highway and you can just walk in through it's a really aesthetically pleasing place. And I think they're continuing to expand and do cool stuff. So definitely stop in. Montana is a friendly and welcoming place if you are a person who wants to take a side road adventure out there in Big Fork, Montana. And it's really close to Glacier, obviously.
I'm looking. Right. Yeah, no, I'll definitely stop in. Looking forward to that trip. And cool. And then I wanted to ask you please don't hate me, but I live out in California.
Well, I was born in California. Did you know that?
I don't think I knew that.
I was born in Berkeley, so I don't hate anybody for being in California.
You've moved a lot, so I think I lost track of where you were from.
Yeah, well,
you've moved a lot in your life.
That's where it started. It started out in the Bay Area, so I don't hate anybody for being in the Bay Area, and I understand that some people there. I just pity people who are stuck there because it's not a place I would want to be in right now.
Yeah. The only reason I'm here is because of my sons and my grandkids.
Sure, that's a good reason. What is the what part of California?
Yeah, San Diego.
Okay, well that's
right at the border.
You're on the in San Diego proper? I was out in Rancho Bernardo for a little while.
Yeah.
And Poway.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's not far from where I live, but
I still got a brother out there.
It's not,
I think I got two brothers out there.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Cool.
One of them, I'm not sure where the hell he lives. I think he's in RB, but the other one lives over in La Jolla and has been there for a couple of years as well. So I got.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a nice area. Well, you know that our illustrious governor and the Attorney General here wants to ban all Glocks.
Yeah,
they want to take them off the roster.
Yeah,
that would
make sense. Yeah,
what are they going to do? Come and get them.
I agree. I think so. I have this theory. It's not popular, but it is mine. And it is that the number of states that you can carry any gun you want in is 50, as long as you don't act like a wimpy bitch. So that's not a nice way to operate. But when I went to California, the last time we went out there was for a family memorial service, and I carried my Glock 19. I'm not interested in. I'd rather be, having to explain myself than find myself on the wrong side of something happened in Oakland or whatever else. I'm just not doing it. So.
Well, you're brave. I
had a little lockbox too.
Seriously, to do that here. I'm just
not gonna.
I've talked to enough attorneys to know you'll spend the night in jail.
Yeah, maybe.
You will. They'll take you to jail here
if they catch me.
Yeah, if they catch you. True.
I had an instructor when I was in Biloxi, Mississippi, and the rule was if you ever have to escape from the cops, you head towards a body of water and you get in deeper than they can stand, and then you negotiate from there. That's the place to go. And if it gets dark, I can go a long ways underwater, and I could do a lot of stuff in the water that most people can't. Yeah. So I actually had some buddies when we were living in Biloxi that got into some trouble with some bouncers at a dance club. because they were picking fights because they were idiots. And that's, I guess, what young men do. But the bouncers came after him and were trying to hold on to them for the police to come and take them into custody. And they bailed off the edge of a balcony. And they ended up in the sand on the beach. And they ran and they dove into the water and they swam out about 200 yards in the darkness. And they just tread water for about 40 minutes while they were sitting there like laughing about it. And then they swam down the shoreline for a while. And they came out. And then when they showed back up at base, I was sitting there and I was the guy who was on what they call CQ, the desk, checking everybody back in. And these assholes showed up all wet and with like sand and seaweed and stuff on them. And they're wearing their party clothes. And I go, what the hell happened to you guys? And they're like, oh, the cops came for us. So we went into the water like Sergeant Human told us. And I went like, good God, you idiots.
That's a good story.
It's very effective. Like 99% of cops are not following you into a body of water. Just saying.
True. Yeah.
So maybe I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I don't go looking for trouble, but I also feel like America is America as long as I'm standing on it. And it may not be the best decision, but that's why I don't go back to California very much anywhere.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But, well, thank you for your advice and for the chat, and also just for, keeping us informed and sharing your experience, strength, and hope. And, I just enjoy your show, and I'm really happy to have talked to you.
Well, I'm glad to have talked to you, and it's nice to have people admit that they also shoot Glocks, even though they're ugly, and we don't necessarily like that we have to say it, but when you got a lot of reps on it and that's what you shoot, that's what you shoot, right?
Well, I love my Glocks.
People say that.
My thing is good. It's nice.
I want to hate them more than I do.
I tell you, it's what, the Glock?
Yeah, I just don't like the way it sounds, and I don't like being a guy who has a bunch. But it's like I don't like them, and that's probably why I have like about 14 of them. So,
they shoot so well. They're reliable. They're easy.
Yep.
They're just
They're effective.
I love my SIG, but I really actually like the way my Glock shoots better.
Yep, that's my same thing. I was telling my buddy George Hill, I said, George, I might end up selling everything that's not a Glock because when I point a gun, I point it like a Glock because I got 100,000 plus reps doing the same thing over and over again. And that's just how I shoot now. So why fight it?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Kyle. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for calling
in. Yeah. Take care.
Be safe there behind enemy lines for us.
I will. I've got my head on a swivel.
Very good. Okay, sounds good. Thanks for calling.
Okay. Bye.
All right, night. All right, so that opens up the line, everyone. You can call in if you're a Glock shooter. You can get Glock advice. I don't know that I'm an expert, but I know some things about a Glock. And none of those trigger jobs were authorized by the agency that I worked for. You weren't ever supposed to even touch your gun. You were only supposed to bring it to the gunsmiths. But I realized I know just as much about the damn thing as the people that would work on it. So I just did my own stuff. I also got myself in trouble because I sent off my work slide on my Glock 19M, and it was made in the US, and I sent it off to C&H Precision, and I had it milled, and I put an RMR on there, and I got written up for that thing. Apparently they didn't like that. Got another call on the line. What are we talking about tonight? Hello.
Hey, it's Kyle.
It is I. Who am I talking to?
Oh, hey, you're talking to WNT.
Well, hello. World News.
How you doing?
Every night.
Yeah. So I had a question for you.
Fire away.
That this came across my mind. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we was talking about what's the deal with the FBI? Don't they have an internal affairs department like regular police departments, correct?
Mm-hmm. They do.
So what seems to be the who's the villain in that area that's keeping everything from them doing their jobs?
So that was actually the FBI's internal affairs. There actually is what's called the Office of Internal Affairs section, or a unit maybe. And so they're the ones that actually take the complaints of what needs to be investigated. But the folks that actually hand out the punishment, which is what most people in the federal service refer to as being OPR'd. So if you're in a police department, you hear about IA. In the FBI and other federal agencies, you hear about OPR, Office of Professional Responsibility. So same idea,
right.
But those are the ones that hand out the punishments. OPR works very closely, hand in glove, I would say, with the EEO investigators, with what's called Inspection Division and some of the others, the Office of the Insider Threat and some other little groups. And all of these little groups were the part of the captured entities that were being used while Ray was there. And I'm not sure they've all left at this point. In fact, we were hearing a rumor that they had hired as many as 300 agents to be internal investigators, like an internal FBI Stasi, if you will, to enforce compliance.
Right.
And so this is where you hear the names like Jeffrey Veltri. Veltri was, I think, maybe the section chief there. I think he was an SES before he went down to Miami. Okay. He's an anti-Trumper. There was a woman named Dina Perkins, who I actually knew when I was at the academy. Perkins came out of Washington field office with me. She was over there and it was one of the investigators that ended up, trying to hose me and Garrett. So a lot of those people were protect the Bureau at all costs, attack anybody that wasn't on the COVID agenda, anybody that wasn't on board with what, sort of the Biden vaccine mandate. So, that's okay. That's why we're not getting movement there. Those folks were part of the problem.
Right. So I know there's got to be that internal halt. But when so who's filtering the reports? Who's filtering what they're supposed to look at?
They have their own autonomy on what they do and they don't take in, and then they can dismiss or they can investigate based on what they choose. So one of the things that we found out, this group that's called the Office of Insider Threat was something that was specifically weaponized. We had a whole whistleblower complaint about this, but it was specifically weaponized against, Christians, conservative types, potentially Donald Trump supporters, or just people who, just didn't toe the government line. And the craziest thing for me was the entire purpose of that office is to find the next Robert Hansen, right? I mean, the insider threat, it's a military thing. It's law enforcement at the federal level as well. They're looking for people that are going to compromise national security. It's not meant to go find like people who will embarrass the FBI or are not on board with the program. It's not supposed to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
At least that's what the money says it's for, right?
Correct. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's what the money says it's for is a good way of saying it. So the crazy thing for me is that they ended up doing this. They ended up, running down anybody that didn't agree with their agenda. And so we had a whistleblower come forward and say that they have caught exactly 0 spies in the current incarnation and the way that it's set up. And that tells you everything about the way that they're set up right now. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing to think that they are not doing any of the things that they're supposed to be doing. And
that's what I see. I see the total absence of it.
That's right.
And it's just boggling my mind. So it just raised the question,
It's a totally reasonable question, one would think. But yeah, that's where we're at right now with them. They don't do the thing that you think they're going to do. And the way that they operate is sort of like off the reservation. Now, whether Dan and Cash have gone in and tried to fix that, I don't have any information that they have, which means probably not, because I think I would probably hear about it.
Yeah. The only thing I hear he's working on is all them the pipe bomber thing.
Sure.
That's the only thing I hear.
How goofy is it that a truly competent organization, when it comes to being able to find people, because they actually are pretty competent if they are let off the leash. But then we were just going back and we were talking about
even if you're incompetent, there's a process. If you just follow the process, it's the written process. Hey, this is how we do it. Do it this way, and you're good.
You'd be shocked to find out that there actually is not a checklist for running cases. It's make it up as you go every single time. And there's very little passing of institutional knowledge. It was one of the things that I thought was the worst part of the agency when I was there. I could not believe that it's like, oh, you have a white collar case. This is what you do. First, you go and you write up everything you know. Then you subpoena all the documents. Then you go and, there should be kind of a checklist for new guys to come in and do. They don't have that.
Right.
That I've ever seen.
At least the headlines.
You'd think.
Headlines, and then fill in between. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. When you're running down people, you're making it up as you go every single time, and then you kind of create your own best practices. But it's not something that's handed out or said, oh, this is how we do it here. It's just not a thing, which is absurd. It's absolutely absurd to me that they don't have.
But when a case goes from one agent to another, then you can get totally 180 degree different view.
Well, that's what happens. Yeah. So
if they had the checklist,
then you would know where you were.
You're starting off with a foundational mindset.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they don't do it that way. That is the way that a normal person would think about it being done. That's what maybe you and I would think makes sense. But that is not how they do things. And that seems problematic in some ways, doesn't it?
it's just this plague that in so many agencies, not just the FBI, but it's everywhere.
Sure. No, I don't get it.
I'm trying to think of it. I don't get it. Is it human behavior? I mean, I was a human behavioral studies in college. I mean, and I just see this behavior going on in these agencies that it's not communistic. It's not socialist. It's almost like
kind of lazy.
Like a club, just a club, you know?
Well, Mike
like
Waller calls it a fraternity, and I
people.
don't think he's wrong. He says it's a fraternity, and the biggest.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a good.
Right?
Yeah. With your initiations and everything, yeah, sure.
Yeah, he says the worst thing you can do is you can embarrass the agency. You embarrass the fraternity. That's the number one sin, which is why it doesn't matter if you break a law. It matters if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
If you don't say the right things to the right people at the right time. If you go out there, you can go out and drive drunk, but don't show them your badge when you do.
Perfect example. You guys bringing out the truth. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, that's
the grain.
High level sin. Isn't that crazy?
Hey, listen, I'm gonna let some other callers get in there because I love the show, bro. You do a great job every week, and I'm gonna keep your shows at the top of all my websites. I got a bunch of them, so I'm gonna keep sending you the traffic, but because I want you to grow. People need to see your show.
I appreciate it.
And and let DOB and them guys know that I'm buying them too. And we'll keep it going. We'll keep fighting.
Yeah, there's no reason to quit on them. I appreciate the support. What do you think about this overhead shot? You're an AV guy. What do you think about the overhead shot I put up here?
No, I think it's cool, man. Almost as nice as mine.
Oh yeah. Well, we're all aspirational one day. One day.
It's all good, brother.
I appreciate the call. Thanks for the sentiment, and I appreciate the support too.
Hey, listen, I'm always there. I support on both your locals and your Rumble. So, you got me. I got you on the X too. So we're good.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
You stay safe, brother.
I'll do it. Do the same.
It's a good fight.
Okay, we'll do. Have a nice night.
All right. Yep.
All right, and that opens up. I just missed a call from one of you also. We'll do it again. There it goes. You guys are on the ball tonight. You guys are not letting it drop. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see. We got another caller on the line, and who am I speaking to?
Hey, it's Tim. How are you?
Hey, Tim.
I got through.
Yeah, you did. I saw you call a second ago, and you jumped back in. You got it just done right. How you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm good. Life is good.
he said, somewhat forlorn.
No, life is good.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
I've been trying to tell people that.
Time.
People ask how I'm doing. I say better than I deserve. I feel like that's a good answer.
It's a good answer. It's almost as good as an answer as the cross-eyed bear.
The cross-eyed bear was a special moment. I can never not hear. His name was Scott Ferris. That was the name of my boss out there. When I finally explained to him what I heard him saying, he belly laughed. You don't normally catch people with a belly laugh from something that they say. You know what I mean? It was.
Well, I keep putting it in the chat that Garrett needs to make the T-shirt with the cross-eyed bear on it. So
I think it's better than
for the merch store, and I'll buy it.
It is far better than cutesy time is over. Don't you think?
Yeah.
The cross-eyed bear is a conversation starter. If you have a cross-eyed bear shirt, they will have questions for you.
They will.
And the answer obviously is that it's just a cross-eyed bear. I like a shirt that answers its own question,
Well, when you told that story the first time, I was crying. It was so funny.
It's just
good times.
It's one of those, those things you have in your life. There's only a few moments you get to actually really do that, where it's just honest and it's and it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. It's kind of, you look back and you go like, yeah, of course. What the hell did I think he was saying? Like, I don't know. Sometimes you just heard one thing and it just made sense. You just run with it. I don't know. So people say all kinds of strange things to me, and I don't ask a lot of questions sometimes. Maybe I should.
Well, that was a different dynamic too, because it was your boss.
Yeah. He was like my boss and my friend, though. He was a goofy dude.
Yeah.
He, you know, he was one of those like he was a teenager / or, you know, college 21-year-old kind of boss. So like, how much of a boss was he? Like, he wasn't gonna if he told me something I didn't like, I would just leave. I think I told him that a few times. I said, if I don't want to work here anymore, I'm just gonna leave. And he's like, yeah. And I go, okay. Just so the terms of our relationship are well established. You can't tell me what to do and like I'm gonna do it. But as long as we have a mutually agreeable situation. And he's like, yeah, you know, it's a cross-eyed man.
So on a immediate need to know, what's the weather like down there? Because I'm headed that way this weekend.
Oh God, it is hot as shit. It is awful.
Dang.
It is the worst.
Going to watch a track thing in indoor stadium. I think
you're going to Arlington, correct?
I'll be okay. Yeah.
Mid cities. So that's about 3 hours north. That probably will be slightly less hot than it is here.
Well, I was gonna hoof it from my hotel over to the stadium, but then it was like a 45-minute walk. The hotel I landed at, so I'm glad I decided not to do that.
Yeah, no, you should definitely pass on that. So I watched like one of those TikTok-y videos today. It was kind of like, I don't know, some like pretty looking lady, and she's talking about, you know, British people, and she's got like some real creative eye makeup on, which was a little bit much for me, but you know, she wasn't ugly, so that's okay. And she's sitting there, and she spliced in a bunch of clips of British people being asked, you know, how hot is too hot? And they all are answering in centigrade, which is irritating to me because I don't know what that means. But all the numbers she basically, like, the highest temperature they said that was too hot was 82 degrees. And her point in responding to the Brits was essentially that what they consider to be too hot is what we set our air conditionings at here in America, 82, 80, 77, etc. Like, as you go down the sort of the scale, right? And so she said, when Brits or Europeans go, oh, it's Americans, why don't they ever walk anywhere? Why don't they ever? The answer is because it's freaking hot, and it's hotter than they can handle it. You know, the average British temperature never gets anywhere near what we deal with. So you don't have to walk. Don't feel bad.
Well, I can take the heat, but I'm in a dry climate, so you know, it's arid and dry heat.
That's a real thing.
Dry heat.
I didn't have nearly as much problem. I had problems in North Carolina. I had problems in Mississippi. I've had problems in Texas. I was not a big fan of how hot it was, even in Oklahoma. But in New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, it doesn't bother me as much. So you're right. That dry, arid heat is not nearly as deadly. It's not as oppressive, I guess.
Yeah. It's the humidity gets involved, and it's soul sucking. It's just like,
that's what it is. It's an anti-religious experience. And I don't care for it at all. What sort of events? You said your son is running?
Well, he's doing track and field. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's field mostly, and then he does a relay. And yeah.
Does he throw like a spear shaped thing, or like some sort of a cannonball, or what are his things?
He's flying through the air like an insane adrenaline junkie.
Got it.
Just like, I can't even imagine.
Like a vaulter?
Doing anything like it. Yeah.
Did you catch that vaulter guy in the Olympics who knocked the bar with his dong? Did you see that? That's how you live forever.
I may or may not have sent that video to my son.
That's right. Okay, just as long as we're on the same page. Yeah. You just go, look, everybody's got a life goal, and this guy basically has got dates forever now. He's good to go.
Yeah. Name, image, and likeness, forget it. It's all about video clicks and likes.
Yeah, we are a simple creature species now. I think we've lost it. But to be fair, like, that would have been legendary no matter what era it happened in.
Oh yeah. But nowadays we have cell phones and everything gets recorded. So yay.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. I had this instinct too, thinking about like the access that we have to all of the world's knowledge, like in our butt pocket, you know, and nobody knows anything.
Oh no, Kyle. Oh, the deep philosophical religious conversations you can have with AI. You haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet, it is worth it.
No.
Yes.
I'm not trying to train Skynet to kill me.
Right way.
No. I don't want anything to do with that.
No. Convert it.
Convert
Anyway,
the AI.
It's all about. Yeah.
I feel like the AI is just trying to get to know us better, so I can figure out how to kill us. Because I grew up watching all the Terminators, and that's. I actually told my wife if we have another child and it's a boy, we're going to name him John Connor, and I got no objections this time.
Good. Well, that'll be fun. John Connor Seraphin.
Right. Some people need to be called by their first and middle name, and I think if your name is John Connor, you have to be called John Connor. Is that?
Yeah, you're getting the boat. Yeah. Talladega Night treatment.
That's right. Yeah, you're getting Ricky Bobbied. One of my best buddies, his name is Charlie Ray, and first name, last name, and I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing, Charlie Ray?" And he was like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" And people would be like, "What are you guys doing?" I'm like, "I'm just sitting here with Charlie Ray," and they were like, "Oh yeah, how's Charlie Ray doing?" It's like, in theory, his name is just Charlie, but not in actuality, because first name and surname, they have to be combined. And
or down in the South, it's the nickname that they pick up, and it's got two names in it. Yeah,
I do like that. There's something fundamentally, it's rednecky, but it feels comfortable still, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a Bobby.
That's another thing the Brits can't handle, probably.
Probably not. But the Brits are overrun by Muslims, so now they're all going to be naming their kids Muhammad just to fit in. Well,
we can open up our immigration to any refugees from Britain that it's white, and we'll be fine.
I think you're onto something there. I think I offered that trade on the program at one point. I think there was an exchange program that we could do. There's some Irish folk that are pretty funny too. They're pretty. When I was in,
if you can understand them.
No, I could understand them. Generally speaking, most of them. I was in a supermarket line, and I must have been 20 or 21 years old when I was staying in the UK for my little 6 months over there. And I saw a guy, and he had a big shamrock tattooed on his forearm, and he looked like he'd been working outside. And he was buying only two things in the supermarket line. He was buying a case of beer, and it was whatever it was cheap. And then he was buying like a case of diapers as well. It was like a 48 pack of Pampers. So he had beer and diapers, and I was in like a, student abroad mood. So I would just strike up conversations with strangers to find out like what their story was. Cause it's just, it doesn't matter. I'm just a guy in the world making friends. And so he's up there and he's checking out, and it was at the Tesco supermarket, which I'll still remember. And I look over and I go, "How you doing tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing yourself?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing well." And he was like, "How did you get the party?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I don't know what you do." I go, "What do you do?" And he's like, "I'm like every other fucking party in the world. I'm in construction." And I went like, "Oh, cool. Like, what do you build?" And he goes, "Whatever the fuck they tell me to build, And I'm like, "All right, dude, have a nice night, And he's like, "Oh, you're a Yank. That's cool." Like, "Okay, and he walked off. And I went like, "Oh, are all patties in construction? Is that a thing in the UK?" I think it is. Yeah, I think we could bring them over too. We could do patty construction instead of Mexican construction. That'd be all right.
Yeah.
I'd rather hear that. I'd rather hear like a bunch of fiddles than hear a bunch of polka music, whatever the hell it is that I hear on construction sites right now.
So I sent you that link to Tucker's interview of Ed Martin. I heard some things in that interview I thought had some, halos around them or some light for you guys. I hope that as he's talking about who got weaponized against, and he brings up whistleblowers, that you guys are in his consciousness. I don't know if you've had any conversations with anybody connected to him, but
he follows me on X. In theory, I could DM him.
Good.
Yeah, it could be worse. He's been doing that for a long time. I guess I could reach out to him.
Good.
I'd like to point at some of the folks for sure.
I think he deserves to hear from you. Yeah, I think he deserves to hear, straight from the horse's mouth. So, when I took the exit, that was one of the people I was very glad was coming on board, but I didn't know he was going to end up on the anti-weaponization committee. And
I actually think they blew it, because if they'd left him as the United States Attorney in D.C., he would have been far less capable and effective than what he's going to be doing now. He doesn't have to play nice. He doesn't have to be sworn, confirmed. So that was maybe a tactical error.
That helps me. That helps me have a little bit of hope in whatever the big chess moves are being made. If it was intentional, and I know I'm ascribing a lot of forethought to the chess moves as they happen, but
yep.
that was an unforced error on their part. They could have wrapped him up and they could have had him, doing toe to toe with Boasberg and whoever wanted to make his life miserable.
Yeah, I find a lot. Well, you can call it a chess move. I think it's probably just happy accident or happenstance. But I do think that God's plan is still enough, God's plan is still good enough for me. It doesn't have to be Trump's 4D chess. I think God's playing 8D. So I think maybe that's how things work. I keep thinking that they're going to eventually come back.
Looking at the bigger picture, and I do think that there's something like that happening because he's got the personnel and he can shuffle them around to where he wants them. And that move of Ed going over to Maine DOJ, not confirmed. And I don't know, will he have a tenure that's cut off at some point where he can't stick around there?
No, he can stick around there as long as he wants. That's just a political appointment, until the administration changes and they want to remove him, they could do that. But yeah, he could do all 4 years there and could really sink his teeth in. We're hearing some kind of chatter from the background that says that there's some good action that's happening within ODNI as well. And so, I mean, all these things are uphill battles. Obviously, they're cultural battles, but I think that there's some. Like I said, it's a mixed bag. I'm never Mr. Blackpill, but I'm kind of a dark realist and kind of a pessimist in general. So it's two things at once.
Right? There's a lot of people behind enemy lines now and dug in, and they can cause real problems if they want to. I've said that before.
Yeah, what'd you make of that? Did you see the Comey thing this week?
Yeah.
Today? What'd you think?
It's unacceptable.
Yeah. I like that he acted like he didn't know what it was, that he didn't know that it was a political statement that he had made. That was charming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know what he was.
Yeah.
Way back.
Yeah. He's your homie is what you mean to
say. Someday I'll pick your brain on that. Cause I mean, I have all of the Spygate right off the docket.
Fair enough. Somebody just posted it over in the chat, the 8647-bit. Or as one of my buddies sent me in a text message, what the shell, homie? I said, what the shell?
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if he actually just came upon this and took a picture or whether he set it up himself. And since he said that he just came upon it, it makes me think that he set it up himself. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But he's a registered Republican. Just remember, he's a registered Republican.
No, he's not. Not anymore, is he?
Maybe not. But that was always his claim to fame.
I know somebody who can find that out.
Yeah. We could look into that sort of thing. I wonder if he's been making any donations too. That'd be kind of fun.
I'll just say that. I mean, that always made me feel dirty when I was pulling database stuff and they show the party registration. It's public record apparently, but yeah.
Well, you can register for anything you want. And you can vote any way you want too. So there's always that.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck to your kiddo.
Well,
I hope he is highly successful.
Keep your chin up. Yeah.
I hope there's no genital contact with the bar. Despite the fact that they've been throwing that in the chat, there's been a nonstop repetition of that GIF playing now.
Well, so he came up from JUCO, and like the worst thing that my worst fear was that the pole was going to break, and I think he had a friend that got his hand impaled by the broken pole.
Oh.
And I'm a worrier. I mean, I'm the dad.
Yeah.
Not wanting anything like that to ever happen to my kid, but. Yeah, he came up to D1 and the equipment's newer and better and whatever, but it's still they have to hold the pole in the right way because it's like a baseball bat. If you hit it the wrong way, it splits because it's made out of wood. It's not composite.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's pretty technical, I guess, because you've got to get it to the right spot where the pole will flex and get you up there and get you over.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like jousting with the earth.
Yeah, with a lot of like twist and flip and pull and muscles you didn't even know you had, and
right,
it's crazy.
It looks crazy. The crazy thing is that, and this goes to something that I heard from one of my my gold medalist coaches when I was a kid. He said it takes tremendous effort to become effortless. And you're never really effortless, but it just looks effortless from the outside is really what it is. And when you see people do it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They just stab the thing in the ground, they fly up in the air, and then you go, yeah, but how the hell do you know how to do all that stuff? And when you need to do it. And it's not like your body just naturally does that, even if that's the right way to do it. So I can appreciate that from the outside. Well, I wish him luck and I wish him safety. And I hope you have a enjoyable and also not too darn hot, but it's going to be hot. So there you go.
Yeah, if I wasn't a Mariners fan, I'd go watch the Rangers play, but I can't stand anybody else in the American League. So
there it is. Although I should go up there and see what whatever they're.
When we first got married, after we got married, my wife whipped out this yellow Yankees hat.
Oh dear!
And that about ended it.
Yeah.
I was like, where'd you get that?
I think that's grounds.
My brother-in-law bought it for me. Yeah. It was terrible. We still laugh about it because we were able to survive that fight.
I was going to say, those are grounds for an annulment on 3 continents. So,
yeah. Well, I've surprised her with other things. So myself, I can't really. Yeah.
As it's supposed to be, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, shout out to Garrett and Steve and all you guys. We're thinking about you a lot.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate what you do.
There will be justice. It may not be on earth, but there will be one day. So we'll try to keep our hearts in the right place on that one. And I appreciate what you're doing and
keep pushing.
Yes, sir. No other route.
Okay.
Have a great night.
Talk to you.
All right.
Thanks.
See you, Tim.
Bye.
So there you go. Maybe we'll do one more here, folks. Since you guys have been Johnny on the spot with the calls, it hasn't really dropped out there. Now you guys are posting pictures of Jim Comey. Yeah, that guy's such a winner, isn't he? He's our favorite. Let me cue up your favorite clip here. My favorite, folks. Want to see this? So let me go into my little archives here. So you got your quote or your clip from the... I keep it under one special file, and I don't want to tell you what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. We'll get that on there. Keeping an eye out for the phone. Let's go see how Tony's doing right now. We'll check in real quick with our bird friends.
What's your name? What? What is your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony! What's your name? Ezekiel! Fuck you, Ezekiel! Fuck you! Fuck you! Hey, you know what I did last night? You better not bring my mother into this! You know what I did? You better not! I broke that fly over there! Oh! And I fucked your mother next to it! Fuck you, Ezekiel! Fuck you! Fuck you!
I just realized what I need to do with that clip for this program specifically. I think I need to dub it with Chris Ray and Jim Comey going back and forth. The question is, who is who? I think Chris Ray is the one that built the fire. And Jim Comey is the one who said, you better not. You guys let me know. I don't know if I can figure out how to do that, but maybe I can ask one of these AI bots to generate that thing for me. Somebody knows how to do it. Or if you know how to do that, then just do it for us and send it my way. Tag me in it anywhere on social you want to post it, and then I will rip it and I will make it part of our normal evenings. I'm going to go ahead and throw one of these little songs that I've got sitting here, a little bit of a musical interlude. We'll see if somebody wants to dial in. We'll get one more call in if you guys are so inclined. And then we may duck out for the night. It's been kind of interesting. It sounds like Steve Friend is not going to be available tomorrow. So for those of you that are going to be disappointed, we're not going to have Steve Friend on the Friendly Friday. We'll figure something out. I'll see if I can dig somebody else up. I've got some ideas. And if not, we'll make do. We'll muddle through. Steve is going to be doing dad stuff, which is pretty important. So we're going to let him do that. Let's see what I got here on lined up. Yeah, that's all right. right. Got another caller coming on the line here. Who's on the line?
Hey, it's Trucker Joe.
Hey, Trucker Joe. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing all right.
What's the good word? What do you know?
I can hear the music in the background.
Yeah, I'm turning it down. I was just doing it gently.
Okay.
It's not on.
Kind of driving out a little bit.
Yeah, there it goes. How's that? Better?
Yep, that's good.
So what do you know?
So, what do I know? Well, I sent you a book.
I got it. I haven't looked through it yet, but it is sitting on my counter downstairs where I would theoretically have time to read. It's been kind of a busy week.
That's
we had
cool.
some family come in, but I appreciate you calling in and I appreciate looking at it. Tell me, what's the general's name again? I know I saw it and then.
Yeah, it's General Gaston Louis de Sonny.
Yes. Gaston Louis. What is it?
De Sonny.
De Sonny. Okay.
The
And
French can't spell, so there has to be a lot of silent letters.
I absolutely despise French as a language. I took it for, I want to say 2 semesters, and I was absolutely atrocious at it because I could not figure out when they were saying it. I couldn't picture the words in my head at all. I mean, I'm telling you, and like, and I come from a family theoretically, like the lineage of my family probably spoke French. My grandfather came out of Canada, up in the North Woods of Wisconsin, and my great grandfather would have been born somewhere near Quebec. And so like it's like you'd think there'd be some genetics there, but there's none. I listen to them speak and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I don't get it. It's terrible.
Yeah, I never liked the language, French language either. I never understood why women thought it was so romantic and sexy. It has always been a pain to my ears. It's got a lot of unpleasant sounds, and it just sounds like a bunch of babbling to me.
It sounds really pretentious to me.
And I'm very biased because I speak Spanish, and Spanish is the real romantic language.
That checks. Latin is not particularly romantic. I think Italian and Spanish kind of run away with it. My wife speaks Italian, and it's pleasant to hear people speak Italian.
Yeah, Italian and Spanish are surprisingly similar.
Yeah, she can get by in Spanish
to
too.
French.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no French. Nobody knows what the hell they're saying.
Yeah, it's very heavily Germanicized in some ways, and then in other ways it's just completely whimsical language with very little sense to it.
Yeah, all I hear is pretentious when I hear it. We did have a little, the French teacher, I had a French, whatever. She wasn't a professor. She was like a grad student, you know, she was like a TA. But she was cute. She was a cute TA, and she had a cute little voice, and she would speak in English. Her voice was cute, at least. But when she spoke French, I was really irritated because I didn't know what the hell she was saying every single time. But we had a little bar on campus in Norman that was called Mr. Bill's. That was the name of the bar. MR.BILLS, Mr. Bill's. And it was a crap, you know, like little dive bar. And she would have a French club meeting there on some day of the week, like Wednesday evenings or something. And then she would go, "Are you coming to the bar? We are going to Mr. Bill's." And it's like, Mr. Bill's? She always said it like she rushed one of the syllables. I remember hearing that. So whenever I would see it after that, it would be like, "Oh, we're going to Mr. Bill's?" You did. It was only charming. And then you want to hear something, Joe? She was cute. She was older than me. And then I came home one night, and my roommate was bringing her back from a date because one of my roommates managed to catch up with her and take her out. And I went, you know what? I'm done with this class. I'm done with everything about it. Now she's dating one of my dudes. I lived in an apartment with 3 guys, and it was a guy named Dan and another guy named Dan and a guy named Ed. And one of the Dans ended up hooking up with her. That was it. I was done with French. I think I got a C in it, which I was lucky. Can't do it.
Yeah. I do have a fascination with French culture, and I appreciate the rich historical, the rich history of Catholicism that they have. And
they've kind of let it go, though, haven't they? I mean, they're letting their cathedrals fall apart and burn down, and it just doesn't seem like they've got a cultural connection, but not a religious connection anymore.
Yeah, there's remnants, in the culture, even the secular culture, there's still remnants of, a sort of Catholic way of thinking. But France has always had elements of liberalism within the Catholic Church there, with Galatianism, and which tends to be anti-papal. And then you have the influence of Jansenism, which is very pervasive throughout France and affected even the Catholic Church, who were not Jansenists to one degree or another. So they tend to have a very pessimistic view and in their Catholicism.
And get behind that.
And then, yeah, it's very interesting. I actually think of Joel that called in. I've actually been to the shrine of St. Joseph in Montreal, where Brother Andre was. And I got to meet a lot of French Canadians, most of them involved with the Pilgrims of St. Michael in Rougemont. And then got to know a farmer family, and that's my first exposure to Québécois, which is like a redneck French.
I thought that was called Cajun.
Oh, that's an American version.
Yeah.
The French Canadians have Québécois.
So they've got a redneck version, and then what's the other version? We have hillbilly or swamp billy.
Yeah, Charles Coulomb is a French Canadian. He has a YouTube show with Vincent Franchini called Tumblr House, and Vincent Franchini also has a Catholic bookstore.
Okay.
Under the same name, Tumblr House.
Okay.
And I recommend it to your listeners. It's a very unique Catholic show, and Charles Coulomb talks about a lot of different aspects of the history of Catholicism in North America, in Canada, in the United States. He has a book called Puritan's Empire, which is a really good read. It's not really meant to be scholarly in terms of having a lot of citations, but it is a very fascinating read, and you get a different view of American history from a Catholic lens.
And it's called Tumblr House?
Yeah, Tumblr House is the name of the show and bookstore. And it's Tumblr, so it's not like the online game, or it's Tango, Uniform, Mike, Bravo, Lima, Alpha, Romeo.
Got it. Okay. Tumblr.
Yeah.
All right. I'm tracking.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it.
And the name actually comes from a novel that Tumblr House published from Professor Bierschak, who is I don't remember what university in California he's a professor of, but he is good friends. And when you study the history of traditional Catholicism within the United States, it's interesting to see that these small pockets of Catholics that survived through the revolution of Vatican II were able to preserve their ideas, or they were able to preserve the ideals of the Catholic faith. And a lot of them were creationists, a lot of them were monarchists, and Charles Coulomb had a lot of exposure to that growing up. And he was friends with Malachi Martin, the former Jesuit. And he was friends with a Catholic philosopher and author by the name of Thomas Molnar, who wrote a book on counter-revolution.
Tell me the name again. Thomas what?
Molnar.
I feel like
Mike, Oscar, Lima, November, Alpha, Romeo.
I feel like I've seen his name before. Yeah, it's interesting how factionalized, and when you think about it too, because this was fundamentally a Puritan country, And now, Catholicism still the single biggest denomination. You mentioned monarchists. One of my good buddies who's Orthodox is a big monarchist these days still. he tells me he's getting more and more monarchy pilled or something to that effect. Just funny that people still think that way.
Yeah, I don't outright consider myself a monarchist because I am not so well versed in it to be an apologist for it.
Sure.
But I am definitely a sympathizer to monarchy.
Yeah.
After having learned quite a bit about all the various Catholic nobles that are great saints. And there were so many kings and emperors that were great saints of the church and were responsible for the conversions of the peoples, like Saint Odo in Denmark, just to name one off the top of my head.
Sure.
And he was martyred, had his head beheaded right before the Blessed Sacrament.
Whoa.
While he was praying inside the church. And it's interesting, we don't have any comparison of sanctity in republics or so-called democratic governments.
Right.
Even the one saintly figure that I could think of who was president is Garcia Moreno. Let's see, what was his name? Moreno Garcia in Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
And even he, being a devout Catholic, being slain on the steps of the cathedral by Freemasons and their agents, he was a monarchist himself, and he had a good relationship with Blessed Pius IX. And it's just very fascinating. I've been tying together a lot of different things in the 1800s. Charles Colomb has a really good book out called, he wrote some time ago, called The Pope's Legions, I think is what it's called. And it's about the Papal Zouaves, who defended the Papal States under Blessed Pius IX. And to connect it to the book I sent you, Journal de Sony, not only is his body incorrupt, not only did he lose a leg in the Franco-Prussian War, and not only was he a great leader in North Africa with the French Foreign Legion, he was also married with 12 children.
Whoa.
And yeah, and not all of them survived childhood.
Yep.
So several of them died before they came to age. And anyways, one of his sons wanted to be applied to be a soldier for the Pope when the Papal States were being invaded by the forces of the Carbonari and Freemasonry in Italy. Carbonari being an offshoot of the Illuminati. And the Papal States turned him down because he was a young boy. He's only 16, I think, and they considered him too young.
Interesting. And where's the general's body laying incorrupt? Where's that at?
I don't know. I don't remember. It's been so long since I read that book and studied it. I used to. I for the longest time I've been wanting to write a book about Catholic military history because we really do have so many great Catholic soldiers, virile laymen who, were very capable as leaders and as soldiers, and as rulers, but also just very saintly, like Skanderberg in Albania, John Corvinus Vignati in Hungary, Andreas Hofer in Tyrol, Austria. The province of Tyrol is now split between Italy and Austria, but they have a tremendous devotion to the Sacred Heart. And Andreas Hofer led a resistance against Freemasonic forces. I think the King of Bohemia at that time was a Freemason and had invaded Tyrol. And Andreas Hofer raised the resistance, and the resistance had a great devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, just like the Vendéans and those of Brittany and France. So then you have the Cristeros in Mexico, and there's quite a few.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just one book. You just described like a whole series.
Yeah, it could be a series. I've been collecting. I have a massive library of my own, and I've been just collecting books in many different languages, purchased from around the world. So it's interesting.
That's very cool. Aspirational stuff. Maybe one day when I sit in the same place for more than a couple of years, I can start putting books. You know, the worst thing in the world to move is books, because even though they fit really nicely and modularly, they weigh the most per box.
Yeah, they are a pain to move. That's why I was I want to design a bookshelf where I could just move the books in place without having to pack them in boxes.
Yeah, with some retractable wheels you can throw down.
Well, the way I would do it is I'd just leave just a little bit of space at the bottom to easily fit a dolly underneath, and then just wheel that thing out.
Just lip it up, yeah, and something that straps across. I mean, you probably could do it if you ran a bunch of straps across on each shelf, but it is a pain.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I just thought about moving again and moving all my stuff, which I just did not too long ago. It makes my back hurt thinking about it. Well, I appreciate the book. I'm gonna get a scan in there. What should I take away from reading that? What should I be looking for?
Well, he is a role model for all of us men, for sure. He was definitely lived by the Benedictine motto of pray and work, even though he was a Carmelite. He gave the spiritual life his all, and the service to his country his all, and his he gave his family his all, and he's such a great role model in all those things, and I think that we have a very huge deficit of quality leadership in the church today. And I'm not just speaking about the hierarchy, but even among the laity.
Yeah, and no, I agree with you there too. Which makes me feel like partly it's my fault. It's my own fault. I should be doing more there.
Yeah, I think you are more capable than you may realize in terms of leading. And I'm not sure in what capacities that you would lead if you were in a position to lead. But there's so much of the be a man movement is full of crap. Even within the Catholic Church, there are priests who I don't regard as masculine at all, writing books about masculinity, and it's really hard to find anything of good quality. But we do have the lives of great Catholic heroes, and I just esteem military heroes the most because they really do put their lives on the line for the faith and for their countries, their kingdoms, and the kings of old, the great Catholic kings of old, like St. Louis and St. Ferdinand, his first cousin. Yep. Their mothers were sisters. They led their armies. They wielded the sword in battle. And it's when kings started hanging back, like King David, that Christendom really began to become weak. And that's why, and the failure of nobility to be faithful to the church and to Christ through the church is what really led to the demise of Europe. That's my personal conviction.
It's an interesting
and that's
thesis.
what led to all these revolutions, that tore down monarchies throughout Europe and the Western Hemisphere. So, so many nobility just joined the Illuminati, joined Freemasonry, joined communism, and like the Carlists, they had to rally around Don Carlo because the successor in Spain to the throne was adopted communism, abandoned the Catholic faith or communism. So,
it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's the church faces the same problems everyone else has, just earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because everybody for many years growing up here in Missouri, I heard about Vatican II being the cause of the downfall of the church, but no, the Catholic Church was being infiltrated long before Vatican II.
Definitely,
you can go all the way back to the 1700s and even further back to the 1500s, and for whatever reason, the 1600s were like the peak of scholasticism with the the likes of Francisco Suarez and Robert Bellarmine, St. Peter Canisius, Charles Borromeo, so many great scholars of the 1600s that were great Thomists and defenders of the faith. And then for whatever reason, in the 1700s, you see this liberalism really getting hold of the church, through the likes of a very renowned Benedictine monk by the name of Calmet, who basically reduces Genesis to a mythology, as opposed to an actual history. So, yeah, there's so much to be said about that subject, but there's a going back to Blessed Pius IX, that his Jewish kid that he took, Edward Mortara. There's a biography on him, and that biography talks a lot about the state of the church in that time, and it mentions a lot of infiltration of members of the occult into the Catholic Church.
I think that would be a fascinating topic, just isolated in and of that. I mean, the masculinity issue, I think, is relevant and important, but if you wanted to catch people's the thing that ensnares people, seeing it done from a distance and looking in some of these secret societies and some of the different sort of occult movements would be fascinating and I'm sure there's other histories out there, but I think that it captures a lot of imaginations because there's a lot of myth about it too. People think it is one thing when it's, that's not really how people get pulled in.
Yes, I agree. It's very interesting. Have you ever been to the Catholic Church in Miami, Oklahoma?
I've been to Miami, Oklahoma, but I don't know that I've been to the Catholic Church there. I may have only passed through.
Okay. Well, that used to be a Passionist parish.
Okay.
And the Passionists are, just for your listeners to know, they're a religious order founded to the devotion of the Passion of our Lord Jesus Christ. And and they have a particular devotion that was very popular for a very long time to the precious blood of Jesus. And in the stained glass window at that church, they have an image of Saint Gaspar, And do you know anything about St. Gaspar?
I don't.
He has the coolest title. He was known as the Hammer of Freemasons.
Okay. Interesting.
He is responsible for converting many Freemasons and gangsters, mafiosos in Italy during the reign of Blessed Pius IX.
Wow. That is a strong name.
Yeah.
That's a great epithet. Yeah. I think that's what they call it, right? An epithet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid one. I think that would be a fascinating story, because I think people, one, are fascinated by the things that are kind of in the off limits zone, but two, how do you combat those things? Because they have so much allure to, I think, general humans, and kind of aspirations of power and secrets and hidden knowledge and so on. People are easily ensnared.
Yeah, Catholic priests really need to look to the past to saints canonized prior to the Second Vatican Council. I don't trust a lot. I don't believe a lot of those canonized after JP2 changed the canonization process and got rid of the devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe a lot of them are saints. I don't think John the 23rd is a saint. Paul the 6th is definitely not a saint. I can go on, but anyways,
I'm smiling.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there are some that say that the canonization process is infallible, but I have not found any authoritative sources that states it. So, and there's so much confusion within the Catholic Church about what is considered part of the magisterium. And that's because we as Catholics have forgotten what the rules of faith are. And, the hierarchy of the church today, all of the clergy, they need to go back and study the history of the church. And they need to study the lives of the saints. Why is it that we don't have men of the caliber of like St. John, his name's I'm going to forget his name. He was at the Battle of Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a Franciscan there. And then, they had the likes of St. Lawrence and Brindisi. I forget, I think he might have been a Dominican, but he was a great scholar that I forgot to mention, along with Robert Bellarmine and Francisco Suarez and the likes of them. And, the longest mass that St. Lawrence and Brindisi ever said was 16 hours.
It's like a Senate filibuster.
Yeah, he would just get lost in ecstasy, and just he would have a debilitating illness, but for whatever reason, when it was time to say mass, his health was temporarily restored so that he could say mass, and he would get lost in prayer in the mass for hours on end. So much so that the Pope had to give him dispensation because there were rules against having masses that were too long.
That's wild.
Yeah. And not only that, he was responsible for converting a lot of Jews in Rome. He could preach the Jews in Hebrew so well that they thought he was a convert from Judaism.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he knew the entire Bible by heart in its original languages.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about, and I think he was at the Battle of Belgrade, if I remember correctly, with John Joaquin Cognati in the 1400s. Wait, no, I'm thinking I got him mixed up. He was at a battle, but I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
It was a city. It wasn't Belgrade. It was a different city in Hungary. But yeah, there were so many great saints of old to emulate for all us to emulate, but we're all distracted with modernism. We're all tainted to it with it to one degree or another.
And that's all
because that's, yeah, I tell people, here's a litmus test to know how orthodox a Catholic is. Are they an evolutionist? That's an indicator that they're not so orthodox.
Mm-hmm.
Are they fans of the writings of Urs von Balthasar, that we hope all be saved? That's another litmus test.
Mm-hmm.
Are they pro Vatican II? Do they demand that we accept Vatican II as infallible when Vatican II has in a document with a heading called Dogmatic Constitution as its heading, it's got outright heresy stating that we worship the same God as the Muslims. We do not worship the same God as the Muslims. Any Protestant could tell you we don't.
Yeah.
But Catholics think that because it says Dogmatic Constitution at the heading, and because Vatican II is the ecumenical council, that we have to believe it. Can you imagine the corpse of St. John of Damascus rolling over in his grave when they declared that?
Yeah, that's wild. Especially after, well, you don't have to go too far back in history. There's plenty of examples of significant conflicts between those two. There's an interesting thing that's brewing right now. Speaking of Christian versus Muslim, that's going on in Florida. You have to keep an eye on that. If you're not following what's happening over on the Blaze, you might add that to your reading list too. Should be interesting.
All right.
It will be.
I have a hard time keeping.
Go ahead. I won't spoil it, but we'll cover it soon when it's fleshed out.
Yeah, you probably should spoil it because I don't have much time for keeping up with current events.
Yeah, well, I got you covered there. We are at the 5-minute warning here over on the local side, so we're gonna wrap this sucker up. You got any final pressing thoughts, and then we'll say goodnight for the evening?
Well, for all those who are not Catholic, I'd like to remind you that without the Catholic Church, there is no Bible. And the only way you know it's divinely inspired is because the Catholic Church said so.
Not wrong. Not wrong. That's something you get to kind of I don't know if it's fun, but it is amusing when you live in a place like Texas. When I grew up as a kid, seeing all the Baptists, they would always push back. It comes off snarky, but it's a loving reminder.
yeah, it's the truth though. We gotta be bold with the truth.
That's right. That's all fair. All right, my friend, let's shut it down for the night. What do you say?
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Kyle.
Thanks for calling in. I look forward to talking to you again soon, and I'm going to fade you out here. We'll talk again. I'm going to also shut it down for the rest of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us this evening. This is our local show where we get to chat, have a little conversation, see what's going on with you, whatever's on your heart, whatever's on your mind. Appreciate you guys joining us over here. Again, if you guys want to do something like write to the show, you can certainly do so at 9073 West State Highway 29. You can send me a book. You can send me nothing that is alive. That is the rule. Suite 110, Box 509, Liberty Hill, Texas, 78642. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for a Friendless Friday. Figure out what we can do. We'll have something set up. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but, we've always got some tricks up our sleeve. Have a great night. God bless you. See you then.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.